I've been looking for the start of another project, and I think I found it. This is a 1990 F-250 with a 7.3 IDI diesel motor, ZF5 transmission. But I don't want to run this Ford body. For the last couple of months, I've been going back and forth with the guy that owned this truck before me. And we worked on a deal. I drove 4.5 hours one way to go get it. But it is a 1990 F-250 with a 7.3 IDI and the 5-speed manual. That's what I was after. More than the truck, I was after that drivetrain. Okay, so the plan is, with this truck, to take the entire body off this truck and to put something a lot cooler on it. The thing I love most about that old 7.3 diesel is just that it's mechanical. And so I'm gonna build something that's completely mechanical, probably use another Ford body to put on there, but it's gonna be an older one. I've had the itch to do this for quite a while, and this was the first step to get it done. So now I need to find the other truck I wanna swap onto this frame and drivetrain, and over winter, I think I'm gonna build me a new driver. He kept telling me it had 400,000 miles on it. And I said, there's no way this thing has 400,000 miles on it. It had 45,000 miles on it. But he stopped driving this thing for the same exact reason everybody stops driving these Fords, and that's fuel issues. So he kept telling me that it needs a new injection pump. I'm positive it doesn't need an injection pump. That's the one thing on these motors that doesn't go out. I'm gonna bring a 5-gallon can of diesel over here and put the diesel up high so it can properly get the fuel without getting air in there. He told me it hasn't ran in at least 4 years, I think. I'm gonna disconnect the manual lift pump and plumb it right into my 5-gallon can of diesel, and I'll bet this thing fires right off. I don't know what it is about these old 7.3 IDIs, but I probably look at the 7.3s more than I look at the Cummins. I love the Cummins stuff, but Cummins is so easy to throw a Cummins into something and to get it running. The 7.3 is not as good of a motor as the Cummins, but in my opinion, when it comes to the mechanical diesels, it's a close second to that Cummins. So I've wanted to put one into a 60s Ford for a long time, and now I just need to find the truck. What are you doing, goofballs? I really enjoy driving my 4th gen Dodge truck, but the truth is it's boring. There's nothing special about it, and I would rather be driving something old. And at this point, I'm either going to swap a late 60s Ford truck body onto that frame or a mid 60s International truck body. But let me tell you what I'm doing here and now with the lodgepole pine that I had left over from the front fence. I'm now cutting these into 11-foot lengths, and I'm soaking them in my special concoction, so hopefully these fence posts outlast me. Because these posts went through a fire, most of the skin is gone, but I hit it with my axe to just take off anything that's loose. And then I soak it typically overnight. And then I put them in my second 55-gallon catch barrel and let them drip any excess off before I put them in the ground. Last year, when I started looking into what I was going to need to build this front pen, I started looking for 11-foot pressure-treated posts and quickly realized that they were way too expensive and at that time very hard to find, so I knew I was going to have to make my own. But the state of Idaho requires that the posts that support this 8-foot fence be treated with something. They did not specify what, but something to help them last as long as possible. I'm using the excavator to do the final cleanup in what will be this new high fence front pen. This is my last chance to make the road and the front yard as smooth as I want it to, so I'm spending a couple of extra days to do it in a way where I won't look back and wish I'd done it different. But again, this is going to be the new high fence front pen for our animals that have been waiting for us to build this for over a year. And right here where this tree is, I'm thinking of building some sort of a shelter for these animals, so I need it to be kind of flat. With these 11-foot fence posts, my plan is to put nearly 3 feet of it in the ground so the 8-foot fence doesn't go anywhere. As the pen goes up and as we get closer to getting our animals delivered up here, we'll get into the details around them, but understand that the state of Idaho has specific requirements that have changed in the last couple of years around high fence ranches. In the state of Idaho, there's quite a few exotic animals that can be owned, but we're really only interested in a few different species. After moving to the area nearly 10 years ago, regularly I would go for drives around town, and that's actually how I would eventually find our land. But in that process, I also noticed that there were a number of high-fenced ranches around the area, and that interested me to a point. But this last year, I had an opportunity to meet somebody that has been a part of this system here in Idaho for quite some time, and he answered a lot of questions for me. And the end result is I made an agreement with this man to take the herd he has off his hands. So I spent all winter trying to figure out how I could get this man's herd up to our place. So over the next few weeks, we will go through the process of hopefully becoming an approved high-fence farm in Idaho. And we will talk about the process. And the second that this is approved, we will get our cervids delivered up here. And by the way, in the captive cervid program in the state of Idaho, you can own fallow deer, elk, and reindeer. This is an attachment for the skid steer that should hopefully allow me to take better care of our animal herd this winter. In preparation for the middle of winter, naturally the one attachment I didn't have for the skid steer was a snowblower. The one that I wanted was the Bobcat SB200, but they're not cheap. And actually, matter of fact, most good quality snowblowers are not cheap. This is a snowblower. This is one of the many skid steer attachments, as well as many other attachments that are all over the internet right now. And I managed to buy this online, and I got a pretty good deal on it. Actually, I got a great deal on the snowblower itself, but with shipping, by the time it got here, it ended up being just a good deal. But either way, I have a brand new snowblower for the skid steer. These things like to rattle apart, so before we get heavy into winter, I'm going to go through this thing, and anything that doesn't have a nylon washer on it, I'm going to probably just Loctite it, and I may even Loctite the nylon washers. And then I'm just going to watch it through winter and see what happens. And depending on how much it gets used and how many hours I spend using the snowblower is going to determine how fast this thing wears out. The parts on it, for the most part, are replaceable. And now potentially with the new pasture, I'm going to have to be able to feed all winter, and I'm going to have to come over here to feed. So my intentions are to keep this completely open. And there's a huge difference between plowing snow and using a snowblower. With a snowblower around the house, over here, anywhere that I use it, snow doesn't pile up. Snow just simply gets moved. And so I'm really curious to see how much better this makes our life in the middle of winter. So my plan is to literally run it up and down all the trails. So. I think my controls are plumbed backwards for this. I'm going to go ahead and change this right now rather than wait until I'm in the middle of a snowstorm. And I just got to switch the two quick connects. Today is the final day for dirt work. My goal by the end of the day is to have all of the corner posts for the new fencing in the ground. And what that means is I've got to get done playing around. I want to pull that hill back a little bit further. I want to do some cleanup down here with the excavator, and I want to move a little bit of dirt around front and fill in some settling spots from when I did the septic system. But the goal is to put these new fence posts in the ground and get it done ASAP because the ground is going to freeze. So for the last year, I've been thinking constantly about how best to do this. How to build the biggest pen I can right here close to the house, yet make the pen look as natural as it can look without dragging this on any longer than it has to. And I think we're getting pretty close to the end here as far as the dirt work is concerned, but I still have all of these fence posts to put in the ground and somewhere around 2,000 linear feet of 8-foot high fencing that I have to put up before I can get the animals up here. Once the pen is complete and built to the standards that the state of Idaho has given, I then have to have the pen inspected. Then we have to have some testing done before the animals get transported and moved for the final time. This is the new road that will get me up to the bobtail propane tank area, but it will also be the back fence of this new high fence pen. I will say in the process of building this pen that just getting the materials here on site has been a major accomplishment. Naturally, over the last couple of years, everything has changed, even in the fencing business. Finding an 8-foot high approved fencing that the state of Idaho requires took some work. And literally, as I was in the process of having it shipped halfway across the country, while shipping's outrageous as well, I managed to find it locally. So we've got all the materials here on site, and it's now up to me to get everything built and finished before the ground freezes, before there's snow, so we can get our new herd of cervids up here and begin this exciting new chapter of our life here at the ranch. Once all of the fence posts are in place and all of the fencing is up, I'm going to put one last batch of pasture mixed grass seed on this entire front pen one more time, and then hopefully in the spring it really takes off. For the last few years, the goats have used the side of the shop here to get out of the weather. We will not be able to use the side of the shop as part of this new high fence pen. It has to all be kept internally, so I'm going to have to build a shelter for the cervids to get out of the weather once all of the fencing is up. Before all of the fencing is up, I have an opportunity to move a little bit of dirt around the front of the shop and fill in where some dirt has eroded over the last couple of years. But I want to make sure I have everything moved around the way I want it with the dirt before I start putting fence posts in the ground. Thank you guys for taking time to watch our videos, and we will see you in another 7 days with hopefully some exciting updates on the high fence pen. I'm now going to put the posts in the ground for the new fencing for this new pasture. This new pasture right here around front is going to have 8-foot high fencing around it. The fencing we're going to use is the fencing that's required by the state of Idaho to have an approved high fence pen where we can either have basically elk, fallow deer, reindeer, and then maybe a few other species, but the 8-foot fence is very specific. And again, I've been working up to this for almost a year, so the next 2 weeks is going to be all about getting this fencing done, getting it inspected, getting everything done on that side of the table so we can get the animals moved up here, and then you're going to get to see what we just got ourselves into. So I'm really excited, kind of nervous. I've already spent a whole lot of money just to get to this point, and so I need to get this finished up and get this figured out. And I'm really excited, but I'm terrified over this 8-foot fencing and how hard that's going to be to get it done. So on next week's video, I will have all of the boundaries lines established. I'll have all the posts in the ground, and I'm hoping I may get all the fencing done. And then I have to build gates. In order for this to all get approved, it has to be done a certain way, and so all the gates have to be very lockable gates. I have to have 2 separate pins. There's a few different things I have to do. So over the next couple of weeks, we'll start talking about this, and we're excited to get these animals up here and to kind of take this next step that we've been trying to do for over a year now.